All right, day 4, independent events. Compound probability is performing more than one event in a sequence. For example, flipping a coin and then choosing a card from a deck, then rolling a die. Independent events, when the first action does not affect the second one's probability. So, tossing a coin and getting a tail, and then selecting a purple marble from a bag. Okay, the coin has nothing to do with the marbles. Or, if you choose a jack from a deck of cards, you put it back in, and then you choose a king. Okay? Since you put the jack back into the deck, you replaced it, it's the exact same deck it was before. Nothing's changed. What about choosing an ace and not replacing it, and then choosing a 6? Well, in that case, it's not independent, because at first there were 52 cards, and now there's only 51. So that does make a difference. You have to replace for it to be independent. So, here's the math for it. We just multiply the probabilities of each outcome. So you find the probability of the first, probability of the second, and multiply it. And if there's 3 events, multiply all 3. Okay, finding probabilities using a tree diagram. Only for independent events. So you flip a coin, and then choose a marble from a bag that has 2 purple, 1 green, and 2 orange. So, let's do the coin first. So you get heads. Sorry, the board was being weird again. Heads or tails. Now, the probability is 1 out of 2 and 1 out of 2. Now, you have purple, green, and orange. Now, how many marbles are there total? 5. So for purple, there's 2 out of 5. For green, there's 1 out of 5. That's a 2. I know my numbers. And for orange, again, 2 out of 5. And the same thing here. Are they independent? Yes. The coin has no effect on the bag of marbles. So, let's find the probability of each. So, probability of flipping the coin getting heads is 1/2. That's a big fraction. 1/2. And the probability of green would be 1/5. So you just multiply and get 1/10. Now how about tails and purple? Well, again, you're starting with 1/2. Purple is 2 out of 5. Now you could multiply straight across and get 2 over 10 and then reduce it, but you can cancel right there and get 1/5. And heads in purple, again, you're starting with 1/2. And then purple is 2 out of 5. And that is the same possibility there. All right, you can also find the probabilities without the tree diagram. If the events are independent, simply just multiply their probabilities together. So what's the probability of rolling a 6 and then rolling a 5? Well, there's a 1 out of 6 chance for the first one, and there's a 1 out of 6 chance for the second one. So that's a 1 out of 36 chance. Given a bag of marbles with 3 red, 2 green, and 5 yellow. That's 10 marbles. What's the probability of choosing a red, putting it back in, and then choosing a green? Well, red is 3 out of 10, and green is 2 out of 10. Now you can multiply or reduce. 2 out of 10 is really just 1 over 5. So that means you have a 3 out of 50 chance of getting that combination. What about red? Putting it back in the yellow. Well, red, again, is 3 out of 10. Yellow is 5 out of 10. But that reduces to just 1/2. So that's going to be 3 out of 20. What about yellow then red? Okay, well, yellow is, again, 5 out of 10 times red, 3 out of 10. And if you look at that, that's the same thing. Red and yellow and red, since they're independent, it's the same answer. 3 out of 20. That makes no difference. Now, what about yellow and yellow? Well, that's 5 out of 10 times 5 out of 10. But remember, this is really just 1/2 times 1/2, which is 1/4. Now, if you didn't reduce it, it's okay. We talked about how you don't have to reduce. You could say 25 out of 100. It's the same thing. Makes no difference. Determine if they're independent or not. So the date and the amount of sunlight. All right. So these questions here are more abstract and more discussion-based questions. The date. What is the date? If you just talk about the 22nd, that does not necessarily affect the amount of sunlight. But if you talk about January 22nd versus July 22nd, then that's yes. It does affect. Okay? But you really, it's kind of a vague thing, so it's kind of a yes or no. It's in between. It depends. If you're talking about, winter versus summer, then definitely there's an effect, and they are not independent. But if you're just talking about the 22nd without specifying what part of year it is, then no, that wouldn't have an effect. Income and education level. This is more a concept of correlation. There's a correlation between how high your education level is in your income and causality. Like, does more education guarantee higher income? And that's a no. So, again, this is a vague one. You can't really say yes or no. It's not for sure. There are times that, generally, the more education you have means more income. But you could get 3 doctorate degrees and then decide you want to quit your high-end job and just work at McDonald's. Because you won the lottery and now your income is low. So, not necessarily. Your height and your favorite color. Those are independent. One does not affect the other at all. That's for sure. Okay, a bag of marbles contains 4 green, 2 blue, 5 red. 4, 5, 6, that's 11 marbles. Always find the total. What's the probability of picking green, replacing it, and then picking a blue? So green is 4 out of 11. Blue is 2 out of 11. So that is 8 out of 121. What about red, not replacing it, and then picking another red? Okay, it was a little bit different. Here go those numbers again, sorry. Red is 5. So you have 5 out of 11. But if you don't put it back in, how many marbles are in that bag? There's only 10. So it's 5 times 5 over 11 times 10. Okay? Because there's fewer marbles in the bag. What's the probability of picking a blue? And blue was 2 out of 11. Not replacing it, which means our next number is going to be out of 10 marbles, and then picking a green. So that's 4 out of 10. Well, that's going to be 8 out of 110. And if you wanted to reduce that, you could. And that would be 4 out of 55. But you don't have to reduce it. What's probably picking a blue, replacing it, then picking a green? So blue is 2, green is 4. So that's 2 out of 11 times 4 out of 11. So that would be 8 out of 121. That's it.